All right. Just want to welcome everybody that's logging in here. We're just going to wait probably another 30 to 45 seconds before we get started, as there's several people logging in the waiting room. But just if you can grab a piece of paper and a pen, there's going to be some really good information. We're also going to follow up with some really good content and notes following the meeting. But just jot down. We always recommend jot down a few notes, a few things that kind of are takeaways for you to make sure that you don't forget them. So, we'll just get going here again, and in about 30 seconds, we'll just get rolling here. So. All right. I think that was close to 30 seconds. So we'll just kind of get it kicking off here. And if somebody's logging in late, we will be sending out the recording and stuff. So they'll be able to attend then. But just really want to thank you guys for joining today. I know we have these every month, and this one's a little different. We're starting to launch what's called our financial wellness deep dive, which means we're going to go into concepts with our partners and experts that we're going to bring in and really dive into a lot of the concepts a little bit deeper. Just to give you more, we were getting a lot of feedback from a lot of the members and employees saying they'd like to know a little more. They'd like to go like one step deeper into some of our education. So this is in response to that. So I'm excited to welcome the team at AmeriEstate. They're an expert in estate planning on the legal side. And I'll give her a chance to introduce her here in a second. But I'm Jared, the CEO of Pathwise, and it's an honor to be able to serve you guys. Again, we're a financial wellness platform, and for us, financial wellness means everything in your financial life, which is estate planning, both legal, accounting, and financial advisory. We're a financial advisory platform, which means you get access through the channel to be able to meet with one of the financial advisors to go through planning, which includes our legal partners here at AmeriEstate. You get education and content every month, so look out for that. We're coming out with new stuff every month. We're excited to be able to serve you. But again, going to introduce the team over there. So go ahead, Michelle, and kind of introduce yourself, and we'll let you get rolling here.
Great. Thank you, Jared. Thank you for inviting me today to share my favorite subject, estate planning. My name is Michelle Reese-Johnson. I'm Vice President of AmeriEstate Legal Plan. We partner with Pathwise to help their clients and members learn about estate planning, get the important documents that they need or want, or not sure if they need or want. So that's why I'm here today, to help you understand this scary topic called estate planning. It sounds scary, doesn't it? And a lot of people aren't quite sure what it is. It's a little bit of a hot topic these days, because I see so many people getting on the bandwagon now where, we've been doing this for 25 years, going on 26 years, helping families protect what's important to them through proper estate planning. But 25 years ago, it was just getting popular, and I'm surprised when I see trusts that were done in the 80s and 90s, because nobody had knowledge back then. And I can vouch for that, because I was selling real estate back then, and I had no idea how important it was back then. When you buy a house, that house should really be in a trust. But what is trust? So the first thing I want to talk about is, how many of you on this webinar have any of these legal documents? A power of attorney for health or asset management, a will, or a living trust? If you can, go into the chat and maybe raise your hand or put a smiley face, or let me know, does anybody here have any of these documents? It just kind of want to get the lay of the land on the group we have here today. And Caroline is going to check that out.
People are just being shy.
Oh, nobody's replying, but that's okay. So we're going to talk about that. These are probably right here. What you see is what everybody should have, minimally a power of attorney for health and finance when you turn 18, because when you're 18, guess what? You're an adult. So just know that anybody who's 18 needs to have at least a power of attorney for health and finance, and they should. So let's go ahead and talk about our next slide. So living trust. What is this thing called a living trust? Well, a living trust is a document that is set up to help protect your assets should something happen to you, whether you become incapacitated or you pass away. I like to call it an estate protection plan. And a lot of people don't think they need a living trust, or they were told that you don't have enough assets to warrant getting a living trust. Just do a will. That should be good enough for you. Well, let's talk about the who needs a living trust. Well, here it is right here. Here's the main list. Anybody who owns a home, has a business, parents of minor children or special needs dependents, single people. If you possess any assets that trigger a probate threshold, and we're going to go into that a little bit more. If you have investment properties, businesses, or if something happens to you while you're alive and you become incapacitated. So incapacity is part of having an estate plan in place, and we're going to talk about that. So most people in the United States, I would say 30% of people do not have any type of an estate planning, but some people think they have figured it out and how they can protect their assets. And the most common way that people have an estate plan is the do nothing plan. Most people have done nothing. They don't think about it. They're not educated about it. They just haven't done it. The next plan is just a will, right? A lot of people think I've set up my will. Okay, I feel confident, and I am doing the right thing for my family. If I pass away, I have just laid out who's going to get my assets and who's going to be in charge of it. We also see many people adding others to title on their assets. That's a real Band-Aid plan. The best plan is having a revocable living trust. So really, these are about the 4 most common ways to manage your estate. Let's talk about the do nothing plan. Well, what happens in the do nothing plan? Well, if you become incapacitated or you pass away, your estate's going to become locked down, and there's going to be some problems involved in doing nothing. The next plan is your will. A will is just a simple document that says to the courts, when I pass away, who's going to get my stuff and who's going to be my executor. Okay. And that's not a good plan if you own and have certain assets, like we talked in the previous slide. And if you have minor children, special needs children, businesses, a will isn't going to be enough for most people who have these types of assets. We see a lot of people adding family members to their assets, their bank accounts, their properties. They're just putting a Band-Aid on that, and I'm going to talk to you about why that's not such a great idea, okay? Okay, so let's talk about a living trust. When you have a living trust, you're going to avoid that scary word called probate, okay? Probate is something that is not what you want to go through for anybody in your family, or if you pass away, trust me, you don't want your heirs, your kids, your family to go through it either. A living trust also protects you while you're alive. A lot of people think, oh, the only reason I'm going to set up a trust is when I'm gone. No, that's not true. We call incapacity planning living probate. Okay. If you become incapacitated and you do not have proper documents in place, like a power of attorney minimally for health and asset, and people cannot manage your affairs on your behalf without these documents, that has to go through a living probate, or called a conservatorship. So you've probably heard that scary word too. So we want to stay out of that as much as possible. Let's talk about probate. Well, I like to describe probate as a 3-ring circus. You know why? because this is what happens in probate. Have you ever noticed in the back of the paper or possibly in the ads online now, everything's online, is you can check to see who's passed away, right? A lot of people go and see who's passed away in the paper. Guess what? If you pass away without an estate plan or even just a will, it has to be advertised and publicized. Okay, so it's kind of like your ticket. So a lot of people look at these papers and they say, oh, Mr. Smith, the neighbor passed away and looks like there's a lot of assets in his estate, and we're going to go to court and check out what Mr. Smith said. So the courts have set up a time and a place for anybody to come and check out Mr. Smith's estate. So once that happens, you show up to court. It's like your ticket to the circus, and you get to listen to what Mr. Smith had in his estate. Okay, so it's public knowledge when you pass away without an estate plan or a living trust with certain assets. So once you get to that court process or that circus, anybody comes out. A lot of people come out of the woodwork at this time. It can be anybody from, the maid, the gardener, the caretaker. They're going to show up and go, hey, Mr. Smith promised me that I was going to get the house. Well, Mr. Smith isn't around anymore to defend himself. So everyone's got to hear what everyone else has to say, or the judge, and that person might get a little piece of Mr. Smith's estate. So another reason to avoid this probate process is when you have minor or special needs children, there's two things that go on here. If you do not have your guardian specified and you pass away for your minor children, the courts are going to decide for you. So an estate plan is going to protect and make sure those kids are going to be provided for from the people you choose, not the courts. Okay. If you also have special needs children, those special needs children are going to be hanging out there, and maybe they will inherit eventually through this court process some of your assets. But if they're on public assistance programs, a lot of special needs people are SSI, those programs will be canceled because these special needs children are going to come into some assets. So you want to protect those things for those special needs children, okay? And creditors come out of the woodwork, seriously. The creditors want their share. The heirs, who you might not even know, want their share. So you want to keep your estate private, and that's what a living trust is all about. There are no rules that your estate needs to be publicized in any papers because you have it in a living trust, okay? Let's talk about how much this probate situation costs. Well, this is just a simple slide here. But on average, probate is about 6 to 8% of the gross value of your estate. What I mean by gross value is, let's say you have $1 million home. That's about the average price in California now, right? Let's say you have a loan on it for about $700,000. So you have a $300,000 equity. And you have some other assets. I'm going to go to I think this next slide kind of shows the probate calculator. Everything is going to be based on the gross value. So it's not going to be the equity in your home. It's not the 300,000, 8% of, it's the $1 million, 8% of $1 million. And then let's see what other people pass away with. A lot of them have savings. If your savings is just in your name and you don't have anybody else on title, like your husband or wife, or you don't have a beneficiary, that's part of your probatable estate. And a lot of people have investments and they have vehicles. Let's just say simply a house and all this, and furnishings, $12,000. Your total value is right here, $1,881,182. Your probate cost is going to be $94,000. That's just off the top. Okay. So just know that not only is it going to be that much, it's going to be about 2 years for anybody to get access to your assets, for your kids to continue living, for anybody to be able to live in the house or sell the house. So you want to make sure that you stay away from this probate situation at all costs. So how do you do that? Well, let's compare a little bit what probate can be. Expensive, time-consuming, traumatic, and public. Okay, that's probate in California. Most of you here are in California. It's very popular. The probate courts are very backed up right now. I know this because we have clients that forget to put their assets into their trust, and those assets have to go through this probate process. It's about 6 months to even get a court date. And then from there, it takes longer because there's people coming out of the woodwork, there's attorneys involved, court dates get canceled, pushed back, this and that. So just know you need to expect about 18 months for a simple probate, but they go on for years sometimes if there's a lot of assets and there's nothing in place. So you want to avoid that altogether because of these issues. A living trust will avoid probate at all costs. So there are no fees. You can settle an estate as long as you have a death certificate. That's probably the longest thing we have to wait for is a death certificate. You can get your successor trustee, who you've set up to be in charge of this, can immediately get access to the bank accounts that are in the trust and get control of those so they can manage them for the beneficiaries. So you can settle an estate very, very quickly when you have a living trust, or your people can. You're also going to reduce or eliminate estate taxes if there are any. Different states have different rules. Let's talk about California. California has no estate taxes or inheritance tax, but if your estate is over the threshold, meaning right now it's about $12.5 million per person. So if you're married, you can pass on about $24 million. Most people don't have that much. So by having an estate plan, if you're getting up to that value, you can pass on 24 million. But most of us don't have that. And also you want to make sure that in California that if some of your assets are, the total value is about $184,000 of assets. If they're not titled into a trust, we'll go through a probate. So you can say, let's say you have a house and you've put that into the trust, but then you have some bank accounts and you forgot to put those in the trust, or you don't have a beneficiary on those. That's going to, and if that asset is totaled over $184,000, that's your bank account plus your cars plus your savings. It's going to, those assets are going to have to go through a probate process. But the good news is, if you have a trust, it will go through a much simpler process because the pour over will is going to throw those assets into your trust and take it through what's called a simple probate, which is doesn't take a couple years. It's what the court's being backed up. It still will take about 4 months or so, but it's not going to go through that expense in time. Okay. Let's talk about what an asset is. Well, we've been on this earth for a while. Most of us here are working and we have families and we're making money and we're buying houses. So what is an asset? An asset is real estate. Number one asset that we all have or want to have, right, is your real estate. It can be investment property. It can be land. Okay. It can even be a deed of trust that you have basically taken back on your house. Maybe you've sold your house and taken the note back. That's a probatable asset as well. Insurance policies can also go through probate if you don't have beneficiaries on them. I see it a lot where maybe, not a lot, but I've seen it where maybe a couple, one of the spouses has passed and they were the primary beneficiary on the husband's insurance policy or 401k or IRA. And the surviving husband forgot to take that spouse off and put either the trust as a backup or their children, or maybe they got remarried. And then if they pass away, if those beneficiaries are not on there, that will go through probate as well. Or it could go to maybe an ex-wife that you forgot to take off your policy. So you want to make sure that you work with your advisors to make sure that you've got these things updated. Okay. Also, we've got boats, motorhomes, planes, toys, investment accounts. All of these things are probatable assets. So you want to make sure that you have what's called an estate plan that puts the shield or the bubble around these assets and protects them from things when you become incapacitated or pass away, and that they go to the people that you love and want and have put into place. So when you get a revocable living trust, the AmeriEstate Trust is full of great documents that everybody should have, okay? Our trusts include the last will and testament that is attached to the revocable living trust document. You both, if you're married, you're both going to get important documents, which are your powers of attorney for healthcare and powers of attorney for financial affairs. And in the healthcare directive, it's also called, and the power of attorney for healthcare, it's called the Advanced Healthcare Directive. An Advanced Healthcare Directive combined the end of life decision with the healthcare, put it together, and it's called an Advanced Healthcare Directive. You probably might remember, the gal who was in Florida and she didn't have her healthcare directive or her living will in place, and she was left on life support for the many years in her life, and her parents were fighting with the husband and this and that. Terry Schiavo, remember that name? Anyways, Terry Schiavo didn't have any kind of healthcare directive in place, and so nobody could make a judgment on if she should stay on life support or not. So that's very, very important to have that document. Also, any properties you have, we're going to make sure that those get into your trust. It's called retitling the deed to your house into the name of your trust. So it's basically you and your husband, or just you, are taking title right now, just joint tenants. The better way to do it is quit claiming that from you as joint tenants to you as trustee of your trust. That's how you protect that house. You're going to do the same thing with your financial accounts, and that's where Pathwise will come in for you or with you. Once you get your documents set up, they're going to give you a call and say, let's look over those financial accounts that you have. You could have them in different locations. You could have different banks. A lot of us have, banks, and then we have our investments. Let your advisor with Pathwise help you after you get your trust signed to what we call funding your asset into your trust. Also with our trust at AmeriEstate, you get a legal plan membership. It's all included. And with the legal plan membership, that allows you to have access to our attorneys. You have questions about funding. You just have simple questions. You're never going to get billed in the mail. It's all included in that legal plan. And so as a member of the legal plan, we invite you every year to do a review of your living trust and make updates as you see fit, okay? And we're going to ask you to let's set that out once a year, twice a year, review your trust. And also what that includes, if you're doing any work with us, is having access to attorneys across the United States. You might have property in another state. You might have an issue going on that has not estate planning related. Give us a call and we're going to put you in touch for a free 30-minute consultation and an attorney that can help you in that matter of law. You also get 25% discount off their hourly rate if you decide to hire them. So a lot of people like having that membership, okay? So that's part of who we are at AmeriEstate. Let's go in and talk about, a lot of people think that estate planning is only for people that pass away. It's not. Life goes on. We live our life. Things happen. Whatever, there's Alzheimer's, our parents are getting older. They're not remembering things. And all of a sudden, they can't manage their affairs anymore. But if they have planned ahead and set up their estate plan, it's not going to be a problem. You're not going to have to go through a conservatorship. You're going to have those documents right in place that you can say, look, Mom's incapacitated now. She's appointed me as her power of attorney, and you can just continue to take care of mom, handle all her affairs. But once mom became incapacitated, if she didn't have these documents in place, it's too late. We can't do anything. So that's when you're going to have to get a conservatorship attorney, and then you're going to have to report to the court. So get things done while you have the capacity to do it, and you are educated about it, and you understand the need. And that's why I'm here today, is to help educate you on understanding why an estate plan is important. And don't be afraid of the word. It's not a scary word anymore, but probate is. Probate's a very scary word, and you don't want to go through that for anybody in your family or your heirs. So also, when you have an estate plan, it's kind of like you're setting up your own personal corporation. So you're going to create it or be the settler or creator of the trust, or the trustor. That's what it's called, trustor, settler, creator. And then you're also going to be the trustee or the manager, kind of like a corporation is set up. You own it, you control it. So you don't change your life in any way other than knowing some rules once you set your document up. The rule is, once you set up an estate plan, a revocable living trust, you want to put your assets in them. It's called funding. How do you fund? Well, you take your property from your name and put it into your trust. We do that part for you. Your bank accounts also, you take them from your name as husband and wife joint tenant or a single woman into Susie Smith, trustee of the Susie Smith Trust. That's it. That's all you got to remember. So once you set your document up, you just remember the rules as life goes on. You don't have to reset it up. You want to review it every year, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, when major things happen in your life. Okay, so maybe you're having another child. Maybe somebody's passed away who was going to be your trustee, or the person who's going to step up behind you if you can't manage your assets. So that's why a trust is revocable. You can change it during your life and when you have capacity. But once you become incapacitated, the trust will be right there for you, and your people who you've chosen to manage your affairs can step right into your role. Super simple. Okay, so here's a little question. True or false? Does AmeriEstate cost 30% to 40% less than typical attorney fees? Well, I'll tell you the answer to that. Guess what I'm going to say? Yes, it's true. So because, attorneys typically charge $3,000 to $7,000 for an estate plan. That's just how it is, guys. They need to make money, and that's, they're usually a one-man band, and their time is worth a lot. They charge, I think minimum now is $500 an hour. So they usually charge by the hour. So by the time they put the time of educating you, talking to you, taking your information, consulting with you, delivering your documents, getting your deeds recorded if they do that part, it's a lot of hours, and it usually works out to be about $3,000 to $65,000, $7,000. Okay, with AmeriEstate, we are 30 to 60% less than that. Matter of fact, we're going to talk a little bit about that pricing. If you decide that you want to start exploring setting up your estate plan, just know out the gate, if you're single, the base price is going to be $1,895. And if you're married, it's going to be $1,995. Now, there's some extra fees on top of that, but they're never hourly fees. We're going to know exactly after we talk to you what your price will be, and we're going to quote that to you. So if you have one property and you're going to put that into the trust, we're going to add $250 on that, and then there will be a recording fee. In California, it's about $60 for recording and and processing. If you have a business, that would be another $250. So just know certain things we will find out when we do a fact finder with you on what you have in assets, and then you will always know what the price will be. You'll never get a bill in the mail. It's not an hourly fee. So just know you can really compare about our pricing versus going directly to an attorney. And by the way, you are speaking to an attorney. I am not the attorney, but we are going to help you up front. Gather your thoughts, get your information, get it all together, and then the attorney is going to call you. We're taking all that busy work away from the attorney, which he charges $500 to $600 an hour for. That's how we're structured. We take that busy work away from him and present him with the thoughts that have gone into the application and your wishes before he calls you. So you will be talking to an attorney on the phone. And then after your estate plan is done, we are going to have a notary who's trained and educated in delivering our trust documents. I think I want to show you kind of what that looks like right here. I'm going to grab it. This is what it looks like. It's very impressive. It has everything in it that you need for your lifetime. And you only have to set it up one time and you just maintain it from there. And we're here to help you maintain it. So I just wanted to show you what the book will look like, and that you will get a really nice book that you'll put on your shelf. You're going to let your successor trustees know that you've set this up. There's certain things in here that you can share with them. So when the time comes, they'll know where to find your book and they'll know who to call. We can help them. And we can also make sure that you are maintaining your trust throughout the years as part of the legal plan membership. So a little bit more about AmeriEstate. We don't just do living trust, even though that is our foundation, and that should be everybody's foundation here on this webinar, is a lot of people have parents or friends that have passed away and they need help settling the estate. We can help you with that, even though it's not our trust. That's our trust administration department. We also can help you form businesses. If you're a sole proprietor and you're looking to switch over to an LLC or S Corp, let us know. We can help you with that. Again, incapacity planning. If you have anybody who needs help getting in charge of an estate through incapacity planning, let us know. We can help walk you through that as well. So just a little bit more about our services. And also, when you decide, or if you decide that you would like to move forward with your estate plan, we want to invite you just to give us a call. I'm going to give you a QR code, which we work with Pathwise, that you can get in touch with us so we can help educate you further. This is not a hard sell. This is just education for you. And if after you speak to our trust advisor and you feel like you're not ready to go, or you're not quite sure yet, but at least you're educated and you know in the back of your mind that you need to get that done, I really highly recommend that you explore it and know that it's not going to take hours for you to go through your documents. A lot of people think, oh, I have to go open up my file cabinet and get all my statements of my accounts. No, we don't need any of that to talk to you. And really, all we need is for you to know or have some information about who do you want to be in charge of your estate should something happen. That's called a successor trustee. What are your kids' names and what do you want to give your beneficiaries? Do you want to split it equally? Do you want to give, your son the house and your daughter the rental? So we just kind of want you to start thinking about what do we want and who are we going to choose to be these people in charge if we can no longer handle our affairs. So don't be put off thinking we're going to ask for all kinds of things. We're not. Okay, we're not. We just want to talk to you and share with you our and educate you to make sure you really understand the reasons why an estate plan is important. So here are the QR codes. So the top one is if you would like to give us a call. and talk about your personal situation with the trust advisor. And the bottom one is to call Pathwise, because they can help you as well get some ideas and do a quick review on your financial accounts, on your insurance policies, to make sure that you've got everything, your beneficiaries set up correctly, and make sure that, yes, an estate plan is going to be important for you. So here's our phone number as well if you want to call direct, but go ahead and use those QR codes to get in touch with either us or Pathwise. And let's see, I can't see I got Caroline helping me here. Let me see if there's any questions. You're sharing some things, Caroline?
Yeah. We'll just go back to our slides. We did have some questions.
We have questions. Where are the questions? Speak. No. Chat. Here we go.
So Megan Smith, how small of an asset can I include? For example, my most expensive asset is my computer, my sewing machine.
Megan, you know what? At this point in your life, a will portfolio would probably be the best thing for you. What that includes is your last will and testament, who's going to be your executor, who you want to get your assets. And if you are a mom and you have minor children, that will also include the guardians for your children. It also includes your healthcare directive and your power of attorney for asset management. You just need to make sure that you don't have any minor children, real estate, special needs kids. A will portfolio might be a better situation for you because you don't have any probatable assets at this time, okay? But minimally, Megan, get your powers of attorney done minimally. But I always recommend have a will too, because you never know what's going to happen.
And then Irene is asking if we have attorneys in Montana.
Irene, I'm so sorry, but we do not work in Montana. We have 6 states. Montana's not one, unfortunately, but California, we're located in Southern California, and we work the entire state of California. It doesn't matter where you live in California. We're also in Arizona, Texas, Tennessee, Virginia, and Maryland. So we're across the United States in different spots.
Great. And then Kim wants to know if we provide electric versions. I think she probably have our living trust package, this thing right here.
Yeah, sure. We really don't have, we can provide you with your signed declaration of trust, but we normally don't keep the other signed documents on file. But you're welcome. What you can do is once you get your signed documents, you can upload those to the cloud. We have part of the legal plan is a service called DocuBank, and you can upload those to your DocuBank cloud, because we're not going to have every single document signed because it's going to be delivered in your home, but we will have the important section, which is the trust. The notary sends that back to us, so we have an original signature page on file in case something happens. We've had fires, floods, and all that stuff going on lately, right? So we can always that is the most important document, is the trust, and we will have that safely on file.
Great. And then Kelly wants to know, how much would a second phone consultation cost if I need another one?
Oh, well, it doesn't cost anything. Okay. So if you talk to the attorney and you decide, I'm not quite clear, I need another consultation, it's included. Okay. It doesn't matter, as long as you get what you need, the attorney will call you again and you will talk to them again. Okay.
Great.
Is that it?
That's it.
Not too many questions.
Yeah.
We do have some documents that we wanted to share with you. I'm not quite sure how those are going to download, but they're in the files. If you can go and see files. Caroline has an estate planning checklist and an asset worksheet, so you can kind of put in what are your assets and how much will probate be.
Great. And these will also be emailed out to you once by Monday, and it'll have a recording of this webinar with all these documents. And then we'll also include a link to the probate calculator that you saw that Michelle shared with. And then the last thing we wanted to remind you of is next week, Pathwise is going to be holding an advisory webinar from Pathwise. And so it'll talk a little bit deeper about how your estate plan will work with your financial consultant. So you should have received an email from Pathwise. So make sure that you go ahead and attend that webinar as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you learned something and think about getting your estate plan done, whether now or in the future. But know that we're here to help you. And I think it's just important to protect your estate. And we call it the Estate Protection Plan through AmeriEstate Living Trust and Pathwise. Have a good rest of your day.